Welcome back to another episode of the High Styx Highlights Podcast presented by Smith Sports Media. I'm your host, LJ Smith, and on this episode, I have the pleasure of being joined by Kim Underwood, a U12 coach with the High Styx Field Hockey Club. Kim, thank you so much for spending some time with me on this episode.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. I appreciate you advocating for field hockey and women's sports.
Absolutely. Leading into High Styx and the club scene. So how long have you been with High Styx? Have you always been with High Styx? Kind of go into that.
I started with Excalibur Field Hockey Club. It's where my kids were playing when they were younger. I had Clarence, who was running the club at the time. I always worked UNC Field Hockey Camp with him over the summer because I would go back to UNC to, one, to give back, but two, to learn as much as I could to be able to bring back to my program. So I would always work camp. And Clarence was there and he ran Excalibur, and he would always ask if I wanted to get involved. And I said, not until they're playing. I'm too busy. So once the girls started playing, I never coached their team directly. I was either an assistant coach or I helped run what was called JPILs or JPOLs, or I ran open plays. So it gave them the opportunity to hear another voice and to be coached by somebody else other than me, specifically me as their mom, but also specifically I had quite a few Wilson kids at Excalibur, and I really wanted them to be coached by somebody different and to hear a different voice, and I was learning and growing along with the other coaches that were there. So I spent, probably 9 years with Excalibur, and then now I'm 4 at High Styx. So I love the indoor game. It's fast, it's quick. There's a lot to learn about communication. There's a lot to learn about quick thinking. Everybody gets touches on the ball. Maybe the goalie doesn't if you're playing against a really weak team, but otherwise everybody's getting touches. Everybody's playing offense and defense. It's a small group and it's really nice. I coached U16 the first year when Caitlin brought me on, and then I asked to move down to the U12s just so, again, I wouldn't have any of my high school players. And at the same time, I love developing the younger kids and building those relationships with them as well as their parents. I have the parents meet with us after each practice and after each game. And they sit and listen to the directions and the instructions that we're giving. They can ask questions at that point, trying to get them not to, on the car ride home, say something opposite of what we're saying and confusing the kids, and just trying to all learn and grow together. And this year specifically, and we're just seeing it across the board, I told the kids, I don't care if they learn nothing about field hockey from a U12 perspective. I want them to learn confidence. I want them to learn to communicate, and I want them to be leaders. So in some capacity. Not everybody is going to be the strongest, most vocal leader on the team, but they can lead in other ways. But we're looking for kids to really just gain some confidence and be comfortable. There's so much fear they experience. Social media and technology has done that quite often. There's so many pros. We're sitting here on technology, right? So there's a huge benefit to it. But there's also so many different things that have almost rewired kids' brains. I'm a big fan of the Anxious Generation book, and it talks a lot about some of the things that have gone on in kids' minds and brains just from technology and just the fears and where the dopamine is coming from, and just trying to rewire that a little bit for kids and get them to connect. And we had, my high school kids and my young players, they put their phones away when we're at field hockey and just try and interact with each other so that they're practicing those social connections.
That's excellent. So instilling a multitude of things across the club scene, your high school, your program as well, how important you found that to be, to put the phone away, focus on yourself, focus on these tangible things that maybe not are even field hockey related, but being able to build them up as human beings, as female athletes, as individuals. That's such a huge component that you're able to bring within the High Styx Field Hockey Club and your high school program as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's just getting them. So many kids hide themselves in their phone right now because they can look, they don't have to look people in the eye. They can look down. They can, either they're looking at something, waiting for someone to like something that they posted. They're staring at other people's and comparing them to that. They're just avoiding eye contact or avoiding having to interact because it might make them uncomfortable. So trying to get kids to understand that life is not always going to be comfortable and that it's okay to be uncomfortable and to work outside of that. And I think that's a big thing we work through. There's such a balance in understanding kids' mental health and real concerns and issues that kids are having. But then sometimes what they're identifying as mental health and what they're identifying, as their reality, which to them might be very real, but a lot of it is perception. And so trying to understand the difference between reality and perception. I mean, even just a very basic concept, like a kid might have overslept coming to practice in the summer to an open play, and their perception might be everyone's going to think I'm an idiot. I'm going to look stupid. Coach is going to be angry. All of these things. I'm not now. She's going to be upset, and I might not even play as much. Versus the reality is it's not a great thing. But let's be safe on the way.
Yeah.
Let's get here and let's acknowledge that there's something happened, whether it was a mistake or there was, some reason for what went on, and let's learn from it and let's move forward, right? So I think kids right now are just, and parents as well, really get caught up into what they believe to be reality. And, whereas most coaches, and honestly, I've been around a ton of coaches. Most coaches are invested a ton of time and hours because they love working with kids. And it may not always be the exact way a parent wants it or the same way a player wants it, but we show up day in and day out solely because somebody impacted us, right? Like I could name on here 5 to 10 people that deeply impacted me outside of my family, that impacted my life through sport. And I remember thinking one day, like, I want to have that same opportunity, even if it's just a fraction of that impact, to be able to give back to young people and to help them become the best version of themselves because of those people that did that for me. And what's really cool is when you get to have their kids and their grandkids on your team and on your program, and to see that. I had a middle school teacher. She was my homeroom teacher. I never even had her in class, but Anne Freeble, she loved me and encouraged me and built into me. And she gave me a book when I graduated as a senior, all the places you'll go. And she wrote in it when her granddaughter, well, a couple of her granddaughters actually played for me. And one, when she graduated, I wrote in that same book and gave it back to her. And I just think of that moment. And that kind of, to me, is the epitome of what it's all about. Like this woman that changed my life. Maybe, just maybe, I had a small little bit of changing her granddaughter's life. And how cool is that, right? When it comes full circle.
Awesome.
And so, I hope that that's what people do. I hope, I love sitting back and reflecting and going to their weddings and seeing them when their babies are born. I've had that opportunity recently. A couple of them have had babies, and getting to see just who they are and who they've become, and these amazing women. And maybe not because of me at all, but maybe because of a teammate they met through field hockey, or maybe because of an experience they had, maybe because of a hard experience they've had and through our sport, maybe because of they didn't get along with me and they learned how then when they had a boss one day that was tough, that they could handle it, right? I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe it's through the positive experiences, maybe it's through the negative, but that's okay as long as they're growing and learning and becoming the best version of themselves.
And you have the opportunity within High Styx coaching U12 to start implementing that in the youth coming through the program. So speak about what it's been like working with High Styx and the U12 program.
Yeah, I've had super positive experiences. It is just such a blessing to work alongside of her and the other coaches. She's brought on some great women who not only love the sport of field hockey, but just love kids and love people. And so it is so fun to show up and to see the energy that the coaches give off and the excitement that they want to just see these kids, you showed up. Awesome. You're working hard. Awesome. You were just a great teammate. Awesome. You just tried something new. Awesome. Like whatever it is, right? Getting to be a part of something that the desire is to build into people and to build into them and to see them grow and to see their families be a part of it. I mean, that's the great thing about club sports. I mean, so many people are like, I've spent so much money on club sports. I wouldn't change a minute of the activities my kids were involved in. I mean, from sending my son to Colorado to go to a cross country camp, he probably learned more just figuring out how to get there. He was in 10th grade, how to get on a plane and have a layover and get on another plane, as he did from just being there and those experiences and meeting new people. And did it cost money? Yes. Was it time? Yes. But would I do it again? And would I have my kids involved in so much activity through field hockey and club sports? Those are some of their best friends. Those are some of their biggest learning moments. I can say what, they were busy and active and they weren't at home watching TV and sitting on their phones, right? So
Yeah.
that alone to me was worth that time. And I think there's so much to be taken away from those moments. We have a tournament this Saturday. We're going to play a game. We're going to sit and talk. We're going to play a game. We're going to sit and hang out. Then we've got a little bit extra time in between our third and fourth games. So we're going to do some team building and we're going to spend time together. And to me, you can't put a price tag on it. So it's worth it. It's I appreciate everybody that's involved. I'm so thankful for the parents that I've gotten to know. I've had difficult conversations with parents. I've had great conversations with parents. But when it all comes back down to it, whether I'm working with an 8-year-old at my youth field hockey or at camp or club or high school, or even sometimes when I help with U.S. hockey, I'm working with college kids. It's the same thing. I'm there to show up to help these kids learn and grow. May not be exactly what they're looking for that day, but every coach is pretty much there trying to do that and help them be successful.
And speaking of being successful, the U12 group just came off a medal win in the National Indoor Festival in Ocean City, Maryland. Can you speak about what that's like traveling to some of these larger events, both for the athletes and for the club?
This is a really fun group. I love working with the young ones. I love their energy. I love their enthusiasm. They're a little bit more freeing. They don't worry quite as much of what other people are thinking, and they haven't quite hit that stage yet. So it's really nice because they come out and just kind of play hard and don't worry quite as much. So it's super fun. That group they love to compete. They love to see each other be successful. And so I got to watch actually a game online. So that was fun. I sat down so while I was at home, I was watching them play and just seeing their energy and couldn't help but smile and be excited for them as they were finding some success. So it's so hard when you're working with young kids because you want them to win so that they can see how hard they've worked, so they see the results. But obviously not everybody can win, right? So you want to instill in them also that it's so much about the process and it's so much about the learning and it's so much about how they're growing along the way. And you want that to be the entire way. I've had kids quit field hockey and they've sat on my front porch and they've said, I'm not sure how to quit because this has been such a big part of my life. And I'm like, you're not losing all of your memories. You're not running away from everything that field hockey has taught you or you've learned or the memories or the friends you've had. You're just finding joy somewhere else, right? So that's okay.
Yeah.
And so teaching these kids to find joy in the process, and it doesn't matter if there's the wins or losses. And obviously when you get to high school, it's a little bit higher stakes because you want to make it to that next level. You want to make it to the championship games and those types of things. But at the same time, I think when they can reflect back, and I even think to my own experiences so long ago, whether I won a national championship or whether I lost in a national championship game, the sun came up the next day, right? Like I learned those same things. I've been in a state championship game where we've won as a coach, and I've been in a state championship game where we've lost. And I mean, it doesn't feel good as you walk away, but you give yourself a couple days and you realize that nothing's changed. People were told me, oh, you'll hold on to a state championship. I mean, that took about 24 hours and, I moved on and was excited thinking about the next season. And I've lost in those games and you move on and you think about the next season. To me, it's more about the connections and the relationships and seeing those kids grow and learn. And sometimes it's hard because when you don't see the growth as much, and then you think to yourself, like, what could I have done differently?
And speaking of growth, the U8, U10, and U12 groups here within High Styx have grown exponentially over the last couple of years. This year alone, the club is training over 80 athletes in these three divisions. What are some of the biggest areas of development you've seen that you're most proud of within these younger athletes?
Yeah, I mean, just seeing the kids come out and have fun and be excited about it, and their friends are talking about it, so that they want to try it. I mean, I went to a U10 practice a couple weeks ago and was pumped. Like, these kids are awesome. Like, the touches they're getting. Other countries, this is what it looks like, right? They're getting touches on the ball when they're 4 and 5 and 6, and so we're trying to, make that happen a little bit more in the U.S. so that kids are growing and learning the game a little bit earlier and then continuing to play. And so, seeing these kids and seeing the things that they're doing, I was like, this is awesome. Like, I was so excited to see that for them. And we have some coaches that, have some younger kids that are getting, kids from their own programs to play. But I think Caitlin's does such a good job of allowing multiple coaches to be present at any of these times, to be giving the attention and the time to these kids and their growth, and to be having fun with them and doing fun things, that it's bringing them back and them wanting to continue to play.
And you alluded to multiple coaches being there, you being a part of and able to be at practices and seeing these different things. So a lot of different athletes are seeing your coaching. How would you describe your coaching style, and how does that kind of fit in with the philosophy of what the High Styx Field Hockey Club is?
I like high energy. So there's going to be high energy. I'm a very much accountability focused coach. So if we're giving a direction, then we should be following it because I think it's a huge life skill to learn. So accountability focused, high energy, team building, communication styled, collaboration, working together, and all of those things. But I think I try and raise the bar. We try and get the kids to do some of the thinking. We'll give them direction. We'll have them have opportunities to play. We'll try and get them to reflect a little bit. But then there's times where we're going to give them direct feedback and direct coaching and ask them to follow it. And it's going to be clear and it's going to be intense. And we want them to rise with that and to come along with us and to play at that next level.
And you mentioned being a parent to field hockey athletes, a successful collegiate athlete yourself. What advice would you give to parents as they begin navigating their own child's journey in competitive sports? They're signing up and playing in indoor and a part of a field hockey club. What is some advice you can give to parents looking to navigate their own journey moving forward?
I think the kids are enjoying it and they're having fun and they're asking you to keep signing up for things. And if you have the time and you can afford it, then I say you go for it, right? Like you don't want to be the one waking your kid up on a Saturday morning and them being miserable saying they have to go. But if your kids are going to bed excited about being there the next day, then to me you go. Like you go to these away trips and you have fun with the other parents. That's your vacation, right? And
Yeah.
so for us, that was what we did. I mean, we just took a family vacation for the first time in years because a lot of things revolve around athletics in our house or any extracurricular activities. My girls were involved in musicals, so they revolved around auditions and practices and rehearsals. I think it's a matter of you can fit it in and it works and it's not overwhelming to you and it's not creating stress for your family, then these are opportunities that you go and you get your kids seen and you give them opportunities to participate and you see how much they like it. And if they love it, then they play. I mean, I've had great players that have said, I don't want to play in college. I want to go do this, or I'm looking for this school, or I want to play club, or I'm going to get involved in different activities. Awesome. Just get involved in something. Right. And so for my own kids, it was just a matter of, they said they liked it. They said they wanted to keep playing. They did multiple sports. We tried it all growing up. I always said it didn't have to be field hockey just because that's what mom was doing. But they loved it. One was a goalie, one was a field player. They're identical twins. So I was fortunate to be at a lot of the same events, even though there was two
Yeah.
kids, at the time, and being able to watch them participate and play and get them involved in as much as they're excited about getting involved in and what's going to fit. And if it's not something they want to be doing at that time, then you move on and the right things will happen in the right time. And for recruiting, a lot of it is sometimes just knowing the right person. I mean, we had a player that came as a guest player to play with us one time at a basic tournament at the Nook, and the Bucknell coach happened to be there and said, "Hey, your goalie's strong." I'm like, "Well, I have a good goalie, but this isn't mine." I
Yeah.
said, "This is from another school." And I connected him with her and she's now playing one of the goalies at Bucknell. So she just happened to say yes, right? When I asked and said, I need a goalie, her mom said yes. She said she loves to play. It fits our schedule. We can make it work. And so if she wouldn't have said yes, who knows, right? Maybe she'd be somewhere else or maybe she'd not be playing. I don't know. No, she'd be playing. She's a great goalie, but she might not be at Bucknell, right? Where she's having a great experience. And I think the same for my own girls. I mean, Bryn was really, back when my girls were recruited, you could commit quite earlier than you can now. There weren't those stages, the timelines now, and so it was I think a Monday or a Tuesday, and we got a phone call that a goalie had injured herself and wasn't able to go to the U19 NITs. And would Bryn be the backup goalie with this team? And I literally asked her that night. We packed up the next day, and my husband got her to Richmond. We actually left her there,
Wow.
and someone else brought her home because we couldn't. The timeline wasn't great for us.
Yeah.
But we said we know this would be a great opportunity, and she ended up being the starting goalie on that team. They won the NITs as U19, and coaches noticed her and asked about her, and that's really where she got picked up. And then they both made decisions their sophomore years in high school. And so I look back at that, and the goalie that was hurt was Bree Baracco, who played at Penn State,
Yeah.
was a Parkland goalie, played at Penn State, and still having a great hockey career. She's on the roster for the international team. And then her sister ended up being one of my assistant coaches. So yeah, it's just weird, the whole thing, and also coached at High Styx for a little bit. So it's funny how it all kind of comes back to a lot of the same people and a lot of the same things. But because we said yes, that's where she was seen. But that doesn't mean you need to say yes all the time. Again, you just need to ask yourself those questions without overwhelming yourself. Because, some are families of 4 and 5. Some have different financial situations. Some have other things going on. Work situations are different. So you just have to ask yourself what works for you guys and trust the process that the right thing will happen. I always say it doesn't matter where you go to school. It's what you do while you're there.
100%, for sure. Why do you enjoy coaching at High Styx?
Gosh, I don't know. I see the families, I see the kids. It's fun to come back the next year and you haven't seen them for a little bit and you see them again and you see them, oh my gosh, you're taller and you're making better decisions on the field. And I love the hugs and saying hello and seeing what they've learned and how they've grown and what they appreciate about each other and how they want to come back. So I think it becomes a family, right? I mean, it does. It becomes a family and you feel like Caitlin has created this along with the coaches that she's brought in, this family, and we enjoy each other. Like we all thoroughly enjoy being together as coaches. There's a lot of time to interact. A lot of us go to the same tournaments during the day, so we see each other there. We support each other. If somebody can't be there, no problem. I'll cover for you and have those opportunities to connect with other kids. But I think to me, you just feel like it's a great place and a great platform to love kids, support kids, and to impact kids.
And do you have a favorite memory from either last indoor season or something that's already happened this year that you'd like to acknowledge and just reflect
Mm.
on?
Gosh, I don't hold on to so many specific things. I hold on to kind of the bigger picture. But I guess if I had to give one, we were playing at Kutztown against a pretty competitive program. And I remember giving these kids what to do and how to do it and what we saw could happen, how we could break the other team's press, and seeing them look at me with these big eyes, listening, really listening, and then going out and implementing that. And then we had the opportunity to play that same team again in that same tournament. And knowing that this coach was smart enough to, change things up and mix things up. And then us having to sit down and me looking in the eyes of 5th and 6th graders and being like, here's what we need to do. Everybody listen. And them being almost, competitive and wanting that to happen and wanting them to be able to put into practice and seeing the excitement in their eyes and then them doing it again. To me, it's not so much about the winning, it's about them getting it clicking. When kids figure things out, it's no different than my job. I'm a dean of students. I spend a lot of time with kids with, struggling with some behaviors. And when I see them figure it out, and as a middle school teacher, you don't always get to see the end result. Probably as U12 coach is very similar, but then you see them in high school or you see them later and they come back and they're like, hey, here's who I am. Here's what's happened. One of my families that I adore, their daughter is now medical school and she wrote me a great note when she finished playing. And she said, I always want to write. She takes the time each year to write back a letter to someone that had an influence on her and just talking about the things that she learned. And it's so reassuring sometimes to know that you're doing the right things because you don't always get that feedback. And because if someone didn't get what they wanted or the award that they thought they should get or the minutes they thought they should get, or if they thought you said something and they took it a certain way. And, sometimes you don't always know if you're connecting the way that you want to connect. Even though that's the effort you're putting in and the time and you're purposeful and you're planning to have those things done. It's not just good intentions, it's purposeful planning to help these kids move along and to help things click, right? On the field, off the field, in life. And so when you hear kids say like it did click, it's just good little reminders to know that you're doing okay. One of my advices to coaches always, and my daughters are now, coaching and played at Liberty University and is now coaching at Liberty. Bryn played at American University and just worked at Syracuse this past year and is also coaching at High Styx right now. I'm coaching 2 different teams and working with goalies. And I tell them, don't hold on to the really good comments too long. It's nice to hear, but don't allow it to kind of inflate you or to think like you don't need to keep learning. And I said, and don't hold on to the negative ones too much either, because sometimes they're just a disgruntled parent who is thinking they're supporting their kid by saying these sometimes horrible things to you. And so don't hold on to those and don't take them too personally either. So I try and encourage the other coaches that I work with to live in the middle somewhere, to keep
Yeah.
growing and learning and to hear what people are saying, but also know that sometimes it's coming from a place that has nothing to do with us. There might be a lot of other things going on in that person's life or that whole family's life. And so you try and move forward, hearing it, absorbing what you think you can work on. And then also the same time with the other things, with the really nice stuff that people say, like, I'm glad they've said those things and I appreciate it, but then not getting too caught up into that you've reached something that and knowing that you still have a ways to go as a coach to keep learning and growing.
Excellent. And as we get ready to wrap up the episode, Kim, one of the last questions I'd like you to answer: why should families and athletes choose the High Styx Field Hockey Club?
Yeah, I think it's just such a great balance of being able to play and participate and to connect with people and learn the game, but yet it's not full-blown commitment to where you can't do other things. You know, a lot of our players are, and a lot of clubs do the same, but I know that Caitlin's really committed to kids being involved in dance, kids being involved in basketball, kids, getting into their lacrosse club, nights as well. And doing those things, but then also making it work so they can still be involved and come to field hockey and continue to play the game. There's so many opportunities for kids now to get involved in things, right? And at high levels, and every sport's now becoming year-round, extracurricular activities, clubs. I mean, just to be involved in the mini-thon at our high school is a year-round activity. There are so many things. So I just want kids to find those things that they love that brings them joy. And I feel there's a lot of joy at High Styx right now. And again, I'm not saying there's not at other clubs, but I'm there. So I feel it. I feel the kids show up. I feel them excited. I feel them wanting to see their friends and wanting to learn the game and become better hockey players and better people. So, it's a great opportunity for people that live close by if it's something that you're looking for and for kids to get involved in. And I think that's why people are hearing about it. And that's why the younger groups are growing at such a rapid rate.
Kim Underwood, U12 coach with High Styx Field Hockey Club. Kim, thank you so much for spending some time with me on this episode, sharing your journey and talking about the many benefits that you and your staff have brought to the sport of field hockey. Get a part of this and learn your story and have a platform for you to share it.
Yeah, so much. I appreciate you.